So this is Faz
and Rose.
And we decided to do a little podcast, something that sort of relates and crosses over to our business, but also just normal things in life that we go through, we may be struggling with. It's always nice to hear different people's opinions, see where we can learn from each other, and actually how we've grown together as a couple over the last 10 years or so.
11 years, hasn't it? We met in 2023. Was it 2023 or 2024? 2024?
2013.
I'm like last year, this year? No, it was like 11 years ago.
But honestly, the time has flown by. There's obviously been certain challenges that we've all gone through personally, through the business, a lot of things that have happened with our family. And I thought it'd be
life, you know?
a nice opportunity to be able to speak to people online, and we can gather our thoughts together, see where we can help each other, sort of take it from there.
Yeah, I think it's quite, maybe just I haven't done the research, but I haven't seen it quite common that like a lot of couples do podcasts or just talk about marriage or your relationship. I think in this day and age, I find the dating world so hard right now. I wouldn't know what to do or where to go. I think it's hard. I think people have such a high standard and a bar, particularly people who've been very successful in areas of life, right? So if you're a high achiever in your business or in your fitness or whatever it may be, I think sometimes you also put people on this pedestal, and that can be sometimes, I think when you meet people, you have to take people for who they are. Yeah. I think we were quite lucky that we met so young that we didn't have too much excess baggage, that we just went into it and was like, okay, let's just see. But it was very easy, wasn't it?
There was like a lot of crossovers where you wanted to do ballet.
Yeah.
I had a background in golf, that was my dream. Didn't quite work out, so I became an estate agent. And here we are. But you lost your mother at the age of, when you was 18, right?
Yeah, 18, 19, and you lost your dad at 7.
Yeah, which was very young.
I think those parallels is what I just felt like I was catching up with a long lost friend when I first met you. It was like I'd known you, but I hadn't seen you for 5 years. That was the feeling I got.
It was beautiful. And yeah, as Rose said, the whole dating scene can be quite wild, and I was very grateful that I was able to meet Rose. But I think if you have your sort of foundations and your morals correct, I think there's a lot to build on from that.
Yeah. And
staying true to yourself and helping each other through it. And for us in our relationship, what made it really strong was the hard times, or maybe perhaps some personal family things that I was going through, other businesses that I worked at, that maybe I was struggling in certain areas, and then you're able to each other. And I think not everyone, but sometimes when things do get hard, it's maybe easier to be like, oh, okay, this is a bit too difficult now.
I just thought that was funny though, right? You always say that, like you say, oh, as though I was going to tap out then. And I was like, I wasn't, because I just saw, what I loved about you is like you wore your heart on your sleeve, and you are what you say you are. You do what
it's just sometimes,
what's that saying? You are what you say. You are what you are on the tin. What am I trying to say?
I am exactly what it is on the tin.
Yeah. What's that tin?
It does exactly.
That tin thing. That tin thing. You're that tin thing for me, and I love that about you, because I think a lot of people can sometimes put on this sort of facade, and I just loved how real you were, and I think that's what drew me to you.
Then after, what was it? Probably we've known each other for about 5-6 years or so. And then 2018. We decided to start our own business, get married, move home, which was quite a few big events in one go.
All of the summer of 2018 we did it.
Exactly, and now just looking back on it, there were certain traits that I had, certain habits that I had, good habits that I've learned now from mentors and stuff, like maybe pushing yourself a little bit outside of your comfort zone. The most amazing stuff happens when you are uncomfortable, even hopefully like this podcast.
First of many, hopefully.
But naturally, it's quite easy to stay in that sort of zone where things are comfortable, you know what you're doing, you have these routines that become very habitual, but then to see growth personally and in your relationship, you do really have to start coming outside of that, and then you start to create a new layer outside of it, and then the zone just gets bigger, and there's more things to start diversity.
And I think also as time goes on, it's very hard to grow one together and at the same level, and I think what we've realised is that sometimes our growth, be it spiritual or mental or within the business is not always at the same level, and that's okay. Like we're there to pick each other up, so long as we've got the same common goals and we're working towards it. I think when you don't have, that's when it can go a bit like there, but I think communication is key.
And also coming from a background of golf where it's very independent, I think I've used a lot of that in my business, which probably wasn't the right thing, in the sense that when we first started, I would even say for the first three and a half, almost bordering 4 years, like we used to do a lot of the work ourselves.
Yeah, we grafted it. It's just learning to delegate, isn't it?
Yeah, so being able to actually, so you might think that you're amazing at something, which hopefully you are, but you need to be able to pass certain things over to people because you start to empower other people, and I've started to really realise that. And doing everything yourself, number one, you'll burn out.
Yeah.
Number two, you'll only grow so much. And there's other people to be involved into the experience as well.
Yeah.
And really like uplifting people. Like something that I learned recently through any course that we've been going through is the waterfall effect, like being able to pass things down to other people.
Yeah.
So then it goes back to the top, and then you start to delegate tasks, people get empowered, you start dropping tasks to other people, and then overall you grow as a company, you grow as an individual. And there's so many crossovers between the two.
There are, definitely. When you said you were on an individual, going on an individual thing, it's like when I first met you, I was very independent. I would want to do my own thing a lot. I'd go on holidays on my own, and I envisioned my person to be someone who would give me space, and I'd still have that time. But it was so funny because sometimes you have this ideal of something and it's just not that, and not that's a bad thing, because I almost didn't need that anymore when I was with you. I feel like together we were stronger. That sounds really cringe to say. Together we're stronger. But no, together we were, and you just gave me a lot of peace. When love is easy, love is the best. I think that's...
I'm very grateful. And that's something that we both try to do in the morning, don't we?
Practice gratitude,
The first thing when you wake up, it's quite easy to get sucked into your emails, find out how much you've earned yesterday, what the balance on your bank accounts are. That might be a common theme amongst some of my friends. But actually just taking a moment to actually just be grateful, perhaps labelling the 3 things that you're really grateful for, I think it really does set up your day quite nicely. Because things won't always go the way you want them to go, but I'm a big believer that there's a higher power involved in that, and there's a reason why it's going that way, and there's a lot to take from that. Sometimes you really try to control and steer things into certain ways, because obviously naturally working hard, you're waking up at a certain time, go to the gym, go to work, have like huge consistency, and sometimes you don't always get the results that you might want, and that's due to various factors. But I'm a true believer that there is a higher power that will take things in certain ways to test you.
Yeah, I think...
And life is a massive test. Like each opportunity, each interaction that I think we have with someone, you could either think it's random or actually try to learn something from it. And I just really started to channel the way my brain works, and thinking every opportunity, every person that I meet, there's a reason why I meet them.
Yeah.
And there's something really to take from that,
Yeah, no, 100%. I think if it's not a blessing, it's a lesson, and even a lesson is a blessing. And I think sometimes when we deal with like hardship or things, we can adopt the mentality of that, why me? Why is this happening to me? And there's a reason for it. Like maybe that's to push you out your comfort zone, so that then you can deal with something bigger to come later, and then it's just going to be easier for you. So I don't see. I view problems or issues or inherent bad things, what we perceive as bad anyway, as not always. I try and just see what is the learning curve here.
And every successful entrepreneur that you meet, whether you call it failure, one step closer towards success. Everyone's been on that journey. It's just how, when you decide to perhaps say quit and decide to do something else. There's an amazing scholar who says that essentially this abode that we live in is of trials and tribulations, and the only time you'll be content with it is when you really understand and accept that, because when you don't, you're always searching for this one thing. He even eclipsed like, what is happiness? If you sometimes search for happiness, we're going through so many emotions throughout our day.
It's not something you can like grasp,
someone might pass away, you might get a promotion, someone's had a baby, someone's going through a divorce. There's so many things people go through, and to be able to control your emotions is something that I'm quite learning to work on. I think we all are and should be. It really does help us develop as people.
Yeah, it does.
But this life, this world that we live in, there's always ups and downs in it, no matter where you are in your journey. There's small people within their own challenges, like everyone's got their own
struggles,
sort of struggle to go through. But again, so long as we're all trying to learn from what we have and what we see. And even growing up in the business, when I used to look, and I still aspire to other estate agents, other people, other companies, and sometimes I would think and be like, oh, how did this person get that? Or how did this person get to there? And it was more of a questioning rather than being inspired sometimes in the early parts of my business by what other people are doing. And I think there's a nice humbleness to that.
I think what you're touching on is like curiosity. It's like never stopping. It's like passion is one thing, but like being curious will always help you evolve. I watched something by a lady called Liz Gilbert recently, and she touched on that point, and I think it's being curious but also wishing people well. Like you don't have to see it as you against the world necessarily. You can wish others, there's a piece for everyone. Do you know what I mean? And it's you do something, you create something in your own lane, in your own industry, or not your own industry, but in a industry, in your own way, with your own flair, and just trust that. And I think the minute you start to try and copy and paste what other people do, it never really reads well. It's never sincere. And I think you just got to trust yourself, haven't you? You're not going to be liked by everyone, but you just have to do things that feel right for you.
And if you're genuine in actually wanting to help people, especially in the business that we work in, it's not actually always about you. So you really need to find out about what the other person wants.
Yeah, you have to love
why
people.
They want it, and adapt to certain situations. That's why I really love what we do, because there's so many different personality types that we deal with every day. Yeah. But it's such a blessing in the area that we live in as well. I'm so grateful to have such an amazing family and people to support us to where we are today, really.
Yeah, we've just had a 2.5-year-old. It's been 2.5 years, but yeah, that's changed our life in a great way as well. Taught us a lot of patience, and I think it's helped us grow together as well. As much as there's been testing times in that, be that sleep deprivation or whatever, it helps each other to be kind to each other. Absolutely, have you found that? I felt like when you're a little bit vulnerable, or if I'm a little bit like wobbly, we can just meet each other. That's what I mean. Where we are.
You sometimes in the situation you might act in haste. Yeah. That comes back down to what we were saying about like managing your emotions. Anger, haste, about things that don't really bode very well. There's nothing really great that comes from it. Because when you actually think about it, if you are being angry in a situation or you're
hasty, isn't it?
You're not consciously actually thinking about it. It's like someone's driving down the road. I've seen cyclists driving down the road before, and then a car may come out and they're like,
it's like a war, isn't it?
If there was like perhaps like a break between a minute or two between that event, and then maybe
would you actually shout at that? Like just
like that?
The fact of shouting at someone, like you're raising of what you're getting at. Like, I don't understand it, but that's anger, isn't it? That's just getting too much in that emotion. I don't think
that's your true self, so to speak.
No. And it's how we regulate that. I think that's what.
And people will try to annoy you and push your buttons, and again, I find them as tests, sort of how we deal with it, especially in high-pressured environments, busy cities like London.
Yeah, everyone's just on their own agenda.
Yeah. I see sometimes people walking down the road and just staring at the floor. Not a huge amount of engagement, but again, it's all of our sort of opportunity together to try and do something better each day, help each other, uplift people.
Even just smiling at people, that's charity. It's free, it costs nothing, but it means the world.
Lending an ear to someone. Yeah. Sometimes people think charity does have to be something monetary.
Doesn't, no.
It can be you're just lending an ear to someone, lifting someone, helping an elderly person, getting stuck in.
I think that's what we've put in our ethos, is to like leave people feeling better for having dealt with us in our business. And I think I really want to like embed that, and I think that's part of me as well. I like to leave people with a little positive imprint, be that even if it's just a smile on the street, or just being aware of if someone needs help with bags or a suitcase or a buggy. Like before becoming a mother, and I don't like to admit it, but I'd never see that. It's funny, like when you become that, you're more accustomed to seeing it.
It's an amazing psychology behind that. It's like when you're, for example, when you got your first car, and if you had that thing, it's like, just say you had a Ford Fiesta, as soon as you get that car, literally all you start seeing is Ford Fiestas.
Yeah,
as soon as you break your leg, you'll see everyone has a broken leg, because it's just what your mind starts steering towards.
Yeah,
it's amazing how the mind works in that way. But similar to what you were saying, it's like when you was pregnant, literally everyone that I saw was pregnant, because the way the mind works, it's like,
you're in that
the next
moment
thing, it's that next ether, that zone that you're going to go into.
You're just trying to find those parallels.
Yeah,
but yeah, what else were we going to talk about? Do you think... What was that? A little ad-lib. Do you think we've changed a lot in the last 10 years?
100%. 100%, yeah. I think my love's always been pretty strong for you.
Oh, thanks.
And that doesn't change, only gets... It's what I was saying the other day, it's like, how can your love keep getting stronger for someone? It's like, it's through these experiences.
Oh, we need to cue the violin now, guys, don't we?
But that's one thing. But in terms of us changing, I think when I first met you, I never used to go to the gym, very unhealthy.
Fried chicken?
Yeah, I used to have fried chicken like 10 times a day.
I used to get sick of it.
Like, just live off coffees.
Yeah, you didn't, in some ways you didn't eat. I remember actually the first time I saw you for a date, I was like, in my internal monologue, I was like, blimey, he's skinny, isn't he? But I loved you, I still loved you.
When I saw you and I was like, oh, she's fat, isn't she?
I wasn't. No, but yeah, no, you grow, and I think these habits that you've now implemented have been so good for your core foundation of other stuff for us. So well done you. Not a lot of people can change. I saw a picture of Faz back in the day, and
he used to look like a hanger.
He looked like a coat hanger. Bless him. But you did it. That's your living proof that you can change.
I think about 3 to 4 years on from meeting you, I remember I was very content in my relationship, but I felt like there was an emptiness. I was searching for something, right? Because I kept coming back to the same thing, as in, you keep going to work, you keep going, it's just this routine that you have, right?
And you have certain successes, and then you're like, oh yeah, but and then it's
and
a bit
also
like
you might not have someone to tell you that you're doing very well, or you might be doing very well in the sort of industry that you work in, or whatever you're doing. But for me, I think 3-4 years in it, I was started to search for what happens in life, what happens after life, a little bit more spiritual, and I think that's one of the things that I've definitely developed on a lot in the last 4 or 5 years. Yeah,
I think the catalyst for me was like around COVID, when the world just stopped a bit.
Yeah, 100%.
And it gave me the space to actually just think of, where are we going? What are we doing? Like,
it was a very tough time. Yeah. COVID for us, it was like the second year we were in business, and then COVID happened. We were locked down. But looking back on it, for me, it was a blessing in disguise, whereby I could spend some time reading some books, realigning, asking what I want out of life, where we're going to go. And unfortunately for some people, it was very damaging, what it did to certain economies and stuff.
I think mentally it showed how strong you had to be. And I think even now we're feeling the repercussions of that. There are a lot of lost and lonely people out there, and I think that's another point actually, is like tying that into what we do in the community. It's like, I'd love to just help like Islington Age UK, so I went on a complete different tangent, but I think loneliness is a real thing, and I think sometimes when you're younger you don't always, I think even young people are affected too, to be fair, but I'd like to make an imprint in the community whereby we help people and elevate, even just from the point, I think Islington is I think I read the top 6 most deprived borough in the whole of London, and there's such a disparity in like wealth and poverty that I just feel like we need to elevate that. Islington's a great borough. Sure, yeah. Upper Street is on our business is there. It's a great community. It has this lovely community sense. Like, we used to live in Clerkenwell about 6-7 years ago now. Yeah. 10 minutes away, and it was lovely. Like Monday to Friday, it was very hustle and bustle, and then at the weekends it was a bit quiet. And I just feel like Islington has a little bit more of a community feel, like all the way through. Definitely, and I love that.
It's a beautiful area.
A lot of people have kids and move out, but I don't have that urge yet. Do you?
Not yet.
I want to stay
here. Love it. Yeah, things change and see how things work out. But One of the things you said actually reminded me of even if you speak to a lot of people and ask them what they want, obviously everyone's going through their life in different stages and stuff. I've realised collectively it does come back to one thing, and this is what one of the other people was saying. So if you speak to someone and someone's I really want money, or I really want a successful relationship, or I really want kids, or I really want a family, whatever it may be, whenever you ask that person, is that, why do you want that? And they might be like, so then I can buy the house. And then, but why do you want the house? So then I can have the kids for the house, or whatever it is. But ultimately, the common theme that I've seen it relay back to is everybody wants happiness. And this comes back to what I was saying before, is your life, it's difficult to find always just that one piece in one moment. And I think it's actually the eclipse of your life is where you actually accomplish what you've accomplished and what you want to do. And for some people this is like such a gift, isn't it? Like it's like we've got a number on top of our head. We don't know how long we're going to live for.
I think it depends if you're that way inclined or not, but for me and for you, I know there's too many sort of coincidences in life for this just to be like, there's so much beauty, there's so much blessing, and I agree with you. I feel like this is just the beginning. This isn't I think sometimes we view death, I think coming back to COVID, pondering on death a lot was a really good thing. I was with my mum when she passed away, and I still to this day, like, it was the most amazing experience I've ever had, because I think in this society we're sheltered from death, that we don't talk about it, we don't even think about it, we don't speak about it, we don't reflect on it. If someone mentions it, it's just a bit like a non-topic, and I feel like it should be a question, it should be something that is discussed. Is there something after, like what happens when you die?
Yeah,
like,
it's a topic that's very rarely spoken about, isn't it? Depending on what circle you're in.
It was amazing. I remember it. My mum was there and she had stomach cancer, and they thought she was going to survive for 4 or 5 years, but in the end it was like 9 months. And you just knew in that moment she was going to go. And my dad was on that side, I was on this side. And I just remember stroking her hair and saying it was going to be beautiful. And knowing what I know now, there's so much more that I would have loved to have said, but maybe that's another podcast. But it was amazing how quickly death took over the body so quickly, and I just referred to her, it was just this body, and I know that there was something that was my mother that was no longer there, and it was quite beautiful that I even then I didn't have the spiritual knowledge that I've learnt a bit more now. And I had this sense that went somewhere. Like, energy can't be deleted, it can only be transformed.
It's part of the journey. It's one thing that everyone can guarantee each other.
Yeah, death and taxes.
So for us, it's a topic that we do speak about relatively often, and it's not forgotten, because sometimes we can get very stuck into this world that we live in, into the materialism of it, that we sometimes forget about.
It can just become a bit of a distraction, can't it?
But life's a balance. It's a great opportunity, such a gift to be here, and I think everyone should really take that quite strongly. Yeah,
I think it helps by pondering on death and reflecting on it more. It's helped me to live my life a lot better.
And also, you might think people are like very successful, they may well be, and they're going through living the life, like living the dream and stuff, but when you actually sit down and speak to people, as we've done in the past, that may not always be the case. It's how things are managed. Again, health is wealth. Without your health, like, you don't have anything, so that comes first. Always be grateful for that. It doesn't matter how much money you got in the world. If somebody said your eyesight was going to go tomorrow and I gave you X amount,
and I think you
realise how much value it has.
Yeah, the human want is always infinite, right? So whenever it's great to have goals, and it's great to hit those success marks and create more.
Yeah.
But what was my point? I was just thinking of something then. But I think if you don't have...
That's what creates the world, though. Innovation, creativity, you need people like that. It's like when we recently went to Dubai, right? What they've done there, and they've transformed it into like a completely different place, right?
True,
60 years ago, it was a desert.
I know, that's very innovative. What they've done in the last 50 years is just crazy, isn't it? When you think
how they see the world, how they want to go, is just quite.
But they're innovators, and that
absolutely, and that's what keeps the world going, and that's what keeps everything going moving forward. If everyone was just complacent, not doing their part in society and community, we wouldn't go nowhere, right?
No, it's true. So I think we have changed a lot in the last 10 years. But it's been a nice sort of chat. a bit about who we are, what we're about, and
we try and keep them quite regular. It's just something that we wanted to do outside our business. It's not something that we speak to people within our business, friends, family, but I thought it'd just be a nice idea to showcase it across a little bit further.
I think it's just like sharing what you learn as well. And it's so funny, I always think, like, whenever I see a podcast of some people that I've been to college with, I'm like, oh wow. And I'm sure like people...
It's the power of the internet as well.
Yeah.
It spreads so fast and there's so many people you can reach so quickly.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it?
And this is the day and age that we live in, so why not?
Yeah, here we are. Anyway, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.